Hi everyone, this is Dr. Shwetambara Sabharwal. I am so excited to have a friend of mine talk to me today about so much that's going on around us. She does not need an introduction at all, but I'll still mention that for me personally, she's an absolute epitome of talent, success. But the most important thing for me is that she is always in this quest to add value to people's lives in whatever way that she can, and I really admire her for that. And I'm so happy that she's having this conversation with me. Hi Nandita, how are you today?
Hi, Shwetambara. Thank you for that warm introduction.
Yeah.
Tell
Thanks
me.
for coming and chatting, Nandita. I really just wanted to have a casual chat, and I guess
Sure.
what's on my mind to talk about. There can't be anyone better than you for this. Uh, you know, uh, Before Corona, before this whole COVID-19 hit us, the way it hit us, there were already so many things that were going on in our lives, in our
Yeah.
world, and very significant ones, very painful things, things that needed a lot of attention. And what COVID has done is, of course, I must say that it's really got us to listen. It's shaken us up enough to actually stop doing what we're doing and listen and pay attention. But what it's also done is it's taken away from a lot of other things that were happening around us and are happening around us, and we're not able to give it its due attention and due support and help. Um, there is there's so many issues, like there's this whole immigration thing. There was of course there are wars, there's defense issues, there's politics, there's corruption, there's just women's issues, and all of these issues have sort of gotten lost in this big corona discussion. Even while I'm counseling, everyone's first and last discussion point of interest is how to cope with this. And with you today, I just wanted to talk about what are your feelings about everything else that's getting ignored, getting neglected, and how do we continue to pay attention to some of those things?
Right. I think this whole experience, firstly, has just taken us all by almost like a shock. We never thought we would experience something like this. Had anybody told us, that you'd be locked down in the house, the whole world would be almost empty and we'll all be at home and the nature will reset itself. And, we would have never imagined it. It sounds like some sci-fi film. So I think the initial period, we were just grappling with this newness of what had hit us and trying to make sense of it. Slowly, and we all thought that virus is very agnostic. It doesn't see region, it doesn't see class, it doesn't see caste, religion, gender, nothing. Right? It's an equalizer of sorts, but it's not, because it has affected us in different ways depending on, just the fact that we can lock down, that you and I are in the safety of our homes. We never thought that just being at home is a luxury. We took it as like it's a normal thing, you be at home. And I work from home, so for me, in many ways, life really hasn't changed. I largely work from home, except for the fact that my son, who studies with your son, that our children are 24 hours at home. In many ways, if you see, I'm actually very peaceful. My apartment faces the sea. The sea is lovely, the air is cleaner, there are birds chirping, there are no bikers and all the honking that happens in the city. That's not happening. At the same time, you see all these images of migrant laborers walking, hundreds of kilometers to their house, the horror stories of daily wages, how contractors aren't paying them, and how people are standing in lines to get food. And you realize that while the virus itself is agnostic, is sees everyone with the same eye, the we are not the same. So I think the starkness of our lives, the gap that exists between the haves and the have not, is also a very real issue. And what we are today, the reason why, when you talked to me about it, and we said yes, that in the midst of all of this, there is an elephant in the room that we are not talking about, which is about women. I think even after the lockdown and all has ended, it's going to be a very difficult time for women. We have really struggled hard to be able to reach where we have, which is also less than half full class. If you see the workforce, women's workforce is decreasing, considering all of us are getting more, women are getting educated, they are getting more vocal, they are entering different disciplines. The reality is, from 27%, we've come down to 23% in the workforce. And this is not the poor people. The poor people, then the women also have to work. It is really the middle and the upper middle class where we feel we don't need to work. A woman doesn't need to work. The more affluent you get, sometimes it is both the men feel and women internalize, saying we don't really have to work. So the
Yeah.
two things that have really come out during the lockdown, one is that the load on women has doubled, especially
Yes.
working women, because they are working, we are on Zoom calls and whatever, even among the
Yes.
privileged. We are on, trying to work, trying to take care of the child, trying to see the cooking, cleaning. Many
Absolutely.
women have part-time help, or so they're having to do double, triple the amount of work. And the
Yes.
second thing is that the domestic violence has really peaked, has really, really surged, because suddenly women are locked down with their perpetrators at home. So I think these two have become really acute. And like I was saying, that once even this finishes, the
Yeah.
opportunities for women will decrease because they'll be most dispensable. Salaries are
Yes.
going to be cut down, layoffs will happen. And who's most dispensable? Those women, who every month they have period issues, they give birth to children, and all those
Yeah.
excuses are going to
Yeah.
come up. And
Yeah.
people are going to optimize. And in that, we are the ones, I mean, as women, as a community, we are going to take the beating. So in some
Yes.
ways, it's a great concern. And
Uh,
you as a psychotherapist, it would be wonderful to also know, what have been your experiences? What are the kind of women are you meeting, and what are they struggling with?
Yeah, absolutely, Nandita. I think you're so bang on when you said that, this has really, really, while it's changed our lives, it's brought to notice uh, for all of us actually that some things are not changing the way they should or at the pace that they should. Even while I'm doing counseling these days and I'm talking to women from all stratas. If I may say so, even the privileged women who are talking to me about, the current stressors other than the anxieties for the children and the elderly and their family and themselves, they are the ones who are finding themselves struggling alone, doing all the heavy lifting with the kitchen and the cleaning, and you hear it in
Yeah,
their voice, and I'm talking about the educated, exposed and
yeah,
privileged families, where one would expect that there would be an offer of help, and that is not coming, and a lot of women are actually feeling quite shafted that I'm expected to do this and that, and I also work, but somehow the kitchen and the cleaning
I
just
think it's
falls in my
hitting them.
lap.
It's almost hitting them.
And
Yeah.
yes, and honestly, for me also, even as a counselor, it was a bit of an eye opener because I didn't think that it would be so stark. The second thing that you
Yeah.
spoke about, which is domestic violence, which is completely, uh, on the one side, heartbreaking, and on the other, completely unexcusable. It is increasing amongst all the stratas of society. Uh,
Yeah.
According to me, it is a deep, deep violation of the body, mind, and soul, especially because the perpetrator or the aggressor is a family member, is someone you are
Yes.
attached to, you have a loving relationship with,
The betrayal of
and
trust. Also.
yes, IPV especially, which is intimate partner violence, is really just tears people apart when they experience that. And that is on, it is the highest in terms of percentage. And then there is, beatings by step parents and other family members. So, it's so loaded when it comes to, of course, the body and the hurt and the pain and the wounds is one, but the wounds on the mind, when you're living with a perpetrator, when you're living with someone in a
Day in and day
lockdown,
out. There's no escape.
absolutely, there is no
Absolutely.
escape. You can't run out for that, to run that errand, or to meet that friend who's in need, or an emergency, something that you need to quickly fix. There is no escape. And which is why I feel that it is very important at this juncture for all of us to understand where this comes from. There are two situations where domestic violence can prevail. For families and victims, it is very important to understand. And I'm not saying that there's any excuse, but it's important to understand that, is the violence coming because of a mental pathology, or is it habitual? Uh, when we understand the difference, it is easier for us to understand the prognosis. Is this going to get better? Is my life ever going to change or not? So, there are multiple disorders like psychosis, there's schizophrenia, there's bipolarity in mood, there's PTSD, anxiety, where abuse is reported, in the families. And, right now, getting medication has become a problem. So there are a lot of reasons why this kind of violence is increasing. And of course, we counsel victims enough, give them helpline numbers. They obviously need to know how to get out of that situation. But also, there are people who are just habitual. There are PDs. There's like narcissism. There can just be antisocial behavior, or there can just be a sense of entitlement over women, that I can
Which
do this,
happens all
and
the time.
which happens all
Get
the time.
away with it.
And it is so incredibly difficult to reach help to them. Nandita, it is one of the biggest challenges I feel that we experience, because very often, and I'm so sorry to say this, that very often even victims don't want to report that they are being aggressed against. I've seen this
No,
so
but there is
much.
so much stigma around it.
Yeah,
There is so much
yeah,
stigma around it that you can't tell, because they'd say, "Come
yeah.
on, that's your husband. What are you going to do? You have to live with
Absolutely.
him." They'd rather not say. And what has happened that over the years, it's not that suddenly that perpetrator is attacking. It has happened even in the past, but because
Yeah,
at least that person was probably working outside, you suffer it in the evening, at night. Your children are exposed to that kind of violence,
absolutely.
and women are not, they don't come with that place of
Yeah,
confidence that, no, if this is wrong, I can do something about it, I can
yeah,
fight it, I
yeah.
can talk
Yes,
about it, I can complain about it, because you feel like, oh, it's my fault, what choice do I anyway have? And
yeah,
also, most women are not financially independent, so it's very easy for you and me to say that, okay, why don't they just walk out? But it's not easy to
yeah.
even
It's
walk
not
out,
easy.
because that option
Absolutely.
doesn't exist.
Yeah,
So therefore, and now it is just accentuated.
yeah,
Now you're with that perpetrator 24 hours a day.
absolutely.
If it's a nuclear
Yeah,
family, you are kind of compromising, or adjusting, because you have children, you don't know what else to do, where to go. If it's a joint family, sometimes it's also the in-laws and other people of the man's family
absolutely.
that sort of join in. And I mean, there have been horror stories. I have
Yes,
some
there are.
friends who work in that field, and the horror stories they have told me, it's really, really heartbreaking. And I think there is absolutely no excuse.
There
And
isn't.
patriarchy impacts both men and women. So
Yes,
we as women also internalize, like, we think, for instance, if I may say so, like you said, that men don't even help or support. Why should they
yeah,
help? We have
yeah,
internalized that if they help also, we feel so grateful
yeah. We are
that,
so grateful.
oh,
Yeah,
my husband is nice, or my so and so is so nice, that he's
yeah,
so helpful.
yeah.
Even in raising children, for instance. So
Absolutely.
that's why working women are really getting a double whammy, and men are turning around, especially if you're affluent, men are turning around and says, who asked you to work then? Don't work.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
don't have
yeah.
to. And
Absolutely.
then
You
work is
asked
not
for it.
only
Yeah.
about
You,
money.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's almost like they would say, well, the division of labor was good earlier. The man was the breadwinner and the woman would take care of the house. So it's kind of
Yeah.
equal. But unpaid
Absolutely.
work has no dignity, has no respect, has no place in how we define work. So I mean, it is a very skewed system, and it's
Yeah.
interlinked with so many issues that is connected to the self-worth or
Yeah.
the worth
Yeah.
we give to women. And that's
Yeah. I
why
mean,
some
absolutely.
women, like you said, have also internalized.
Yeah.
53% women in a survey said it's okay for men to beat them. 53%
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
feel,
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of life, and it's part of being together, and your husband has a right to beat you. So
Yeah.
how do you
And it's
change
more
that
prevalent
kind of a
than
mindset?
it's more prevalent than we know. 1 in 3 women have been aggressed against. I mean, these are statistics from
Yes, because
2015, but they
the
haven't changed
reporting
much.
doesn't
And
happen.
the reporting doesn't happen. The
Reporting is
Human
very low.
Rights Watch has openly said that, domestic violence is the slowest to get justice. It's very hard to give them, critical and timely support because of all the reasons that you're stating. I mean, there is a certain mentality, there's a sense of entitlement, there's a certain cultural baggage over there. So we have a lot of big battles to fight here. But what I also want to at least today leave some of our listeners with is this sense of personal responsibility that if there's anything that can be done by people like us, it needs to be done. And I'm not talking about donations, I'm not talking about money, I'm talking about giving in the form of education. I think it is so important for all of us to start talking about this to whoever we can, whoever who will listen, every
Absolutely.
driver we have,
Absolutely.
every staff member in our families, anyone and everyone who will listen, because this needs to get addressed. If we don't do anything about it, and I'm telling you, I've worked with a prevention cell, and it is incredibly hard to first identify these families, to get complaints, to reach them the necessary help. Patients never come back. Either their families don't make let them come back, or they're beaten up black and blue for complaining. So it's a very tricky situation over there, and it's not easy to get to change this in a day. But what can start happening, I mean, that's the part of the situation. But what is the positive in this is that I think a lot of us are feeling for this, a lot of us are becoming aware of it, a lot of us, like I said earlier, are willing to listen and contribute this time. And I think what is in our hands is to create more and more education through conversation. What do you think?
And I think to just give each other confidence that that it's okay to reach out. Often we don't
Yeah.
reach out for help because of that stigma. What are
Yeah.
people going to say? How
Yeah.
will I
Yeah.
be looked at? So I think
Yeah.
there is a lot of merit in also saying that there is a sense of sisterhood. Women feel more
Yeah.
comfortable telling other women. How
Yeah.
do we
Yeah.
create that kind of a bonding and a safe space? So even
Yeah.
in the affluent class, despite all the social media and these friends and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and everything, if you see, the sense of self-worth is actually very low in women. They've done studies where women just don't have enough confidence to have that sense of self. And this is not
Mm.
only among poor or the low middle class, it's seen across class. And that
Yeah.
confidence comes from, because we're always sort of basing how others perceive us, and we are
Yeah.
having to nudge. We are women, we are nurturing, we are gentle, we shouldn't be saying this. So we are
Yeah.
constantly undermining our own selves. So I
Yeah.
think it's
You
also
use
very
such a
important to
yeah.
create a circle of compassion.
I think you use
Sorry,
such
go
a
ahead.
beautiful word. No, I was listening, and you use the word sisterhood, and I feel that I want to add to that, because if we really want to get down to action points and see what we can do as individuals, I mean, we can talk about the changes that we need in the world, but I think it was Tolstoy who said that everybody wants to change the world, nobody wants to change themselves. So if we look at what we can actually contribute in this situation and talk about that, I think. when it comes to women, I think two things that, in my observation, we need to develop. One, when a woman talks to us, we really need to focus on confidentiality. I think, and with like no
Yeah.
judgment, I think sometimes we lack that faith in each other,
Yeah.
that is this going to stay between this sister or friend of mine, that's one. And number two,
Sure.
we're very quick to give advice, you know um,
Yeah.
not just as a counselor, but even as a human being, I feel that advice is such a dangerous place. Today, if somebody tells me that, I'm getting beaten, and I don't know what to do, I think it's very important for me to ask, what can you live with? What do you want to do? How can I help you in making a choice which will make you feel more comfortable? Because it's so easy for me to say, leave the house, walk out, and then the consequences are for that person to live with.
Everyone's context is different. Mm.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think that,
Every
you know
context is different, their predicaments are different, what are their compulsions, what is the choice they are making. But also, I feel sometimes you're so deeply conditioned that you
yeah,
almost don't know what is right for you. In the sense, it's a very
absolutely. Yeah,
tricky thing that,
yeah,
how do you
yeah,
encourage women to get out of a
yeah.
certain situation that they do not see, and at the same time
Yes,
respect what they want.
what
And
they
not, but
want.
I think
Yes,
what you said is very powerful about not judging
yeah,
and giving them the confidence that there is someone to listen. Only
absolutely.
when people feel that there is someone to listen do people speak up. So it's
Hmm.
not enough to say that more women need to speak up. If they don't have
Yeah,
people to listen, if they don't have people to understand it, if they don't
yeah,
see that compassion, it doesn't
yeah,
encourage them to really speak up. So it's easier
absolutely.
said than done. So I think we as individuals, one is that we can dig deeper and work on our own confidence. Work, women tend to be very guilty very quickly. We think we
Absolutely,
are
my
this
God.
we have to be this gurga, and we have to constantly sort of overperform and keep everyone happy, and it's very
Yeah,
selfish to think of your own happiness. So we have to deal with all of our complexities and emotions and conditionings. And at the
yes.
same time, especially the people who are going to listen, the fact we're speaking in English is itself is such a divider. So the people who are
Yeah,
listening are all educated, affluent. So I
yes,
think it would be good for all of us to see in terms of the people that we interact, that our staff,
absolutely.
like you said, what your driver and your cook and our people
Yeah,
who come to work, what are their lives? Do we pause
absolutely.
to even know that where have they come from? What's happening in their village right now? Are they the first child or the last child? What have
Yeah,
they gone through? What are they thinking? They are just
yeah,
for us people who work and provide us. And they are our lifelines. We know as working women that if
I
our
know.
staff is not there, life comes to a standstill. And yet
Yeah,
we are
yeah,
constantly sort of making them feel we are employing you. But it's a very
absolutely.
symbiotic relationship. We need
Yeah,
them and they need us. And
yes,
how can we go beyond just being the provider and the one who's providing, but actually have human relationships? Because a
absolutely.
lot of the stories are actually hidden in plain sight, and
Yes,
we just don't see it. So I think there is lots, even as individuals, that we can do. We don't necessarily need to be therapist or psychotherapist or social workers or in the media or in politics, because otherwise
yeah,
we feel these are the people, it's their job to do it, what can I do?
yeah,
So it's
yes,
it's that small balance between not thinking that I can change the world, but I can
yeah.
change my little world, and
Yeah.
working within that to make the best that we can.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you, and I genuinely believe that education is the best gift that we can give to anyone. In fact, it's mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita that it is the highest form of charity, higher than giving anyone any money. So, if
Yeah, just
anyone is
awareness.
feeling like charity right now, you know, create awareness, talk to people, like you beautifully said. Give that attention to the stories in your house around you, where there are people working around you, and see if there are two bits that we can teach them as the privileged and the lucky and the educated lot, and see if a little difference, a little seed can be sowed there in trying to create the difference that we're all hoping to achieve eventually.
And I think violence is also, like you said, that psychological violence, and just having lack of opportunities, feeling constantly guilty, just thinking that I have to do everything. It's a different kind of violence because it
Yeah.
stops you from doing, recognizing, or realizing your own dreams. So to
Yeah.
say that, okay, that's an extreme violence, and that person, I mean, is relatively, my life is far more privileged, of course, to be
Yeah.
grateful for all that we have. And this situation, this crisis is reminding us like never before. But at
Yeah.
the same time, to also recognize that I do not need to be always happy with half full glass, like, okay, at least I am slightly better off, but I can be more confident. I can be
Mm.
my own person. It is okay to want to work, to dream of doing different things. It's okay for the men to also be not just supportive, but
Yes.
actually sharing, whether it's
Yes.
raising children, whether it's taking care of the house, whether it's cooking. Like, all, even some
Yeah.
of my
Yeah.
friends and their spouses, the conversations I hear, they're like, listen, I'm doing the most men are doing vacuum cleaning and putting the trash out. And I'm amazed how many men are just doing that, and women are grateful even just for that. And I'm not saying that
Yeah.
we should get into a war, we need peaceful
Yeah.
coexistence. But
Yeah.
I feel if
Absolutely.
our partners are sensitive, it's
Yeah.
good to have that conversation. I think it's good for our children to be able to see the right role models, and for them to not
Absolutely.
perpetuate this patriarchal cycle where they see their moms doing everything and they see their
Mm.
fathers being the breadwinner. And that's how we give money much more value than
Right.
all the things that the mother does to keep the house and to keep the family and to keep her own sanity together. So I
Yeah.
think it's
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
important, if you have daughters, I think it's important to create better role models. If you have
Yes.
sons, then
Absolutely.
it's important so that they grow up to respect women. So either
Yeah.
which way, I think it's time that we reset and
Yes.
hasten the
At this.
process
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
changing.
And at this microscopic level, each family, each person, every human being, I think at that really nice and powerful note, that each one of us can make a difference, starting with, setting a good example for our own children, talking to our own staff, talking to our own partners, changing the culture in the family, and also providing this sisterhood to women, to be able to talk, to be able to get it out of their system, not feel stigmatized, not feel judged, be able to trust and find solutions together. I think
Yeah, men and
from the
women. This is not a fight against
men and
men.
women, yeah,
It's something that we
absolutely,
have to do together. So I think also
yeah, yeah.
involving men in this conversation is
No,
important.
absolutely. In fact, I know so many men, who've been so wonderful during this time and, have shared responsibilities and have been sensitive. So there are all kinds of people, but what I'm really taking back today is that there are things that we can do, from our
Absolutely.
level, from our homes, during this lockdown. What is required is
Yes.
compassion and a little bit of grit, some resilience, and just
Mhm.
a feeling of togetherness and community. And I think this could be a good start.
Yes. And I'm sure
What
you are
a what
helping
a
many women
lovely.
and
Listen,
to
so
kind
are
of,
you,
deal
I
with
guess.
their own issues.
Yeah,
Well, we're
yeah.
all
Do
trying to
what
do our
we
little
can.
bit, but
Exactly. I
every
think
drop
we're all
counts. Every drop counts.
every drop
Thank
counts.
you. Thank you,
Lovely chatting
Shwetambara.
with you, Nandita. And
Likewise, likewise.
okay, all right, I'm going to let you go. I
Okay,
guess we
yes,
both
to
have
our
children to
respective
tuck into
bachas.
bed. Yeah,
Well, I still do. So, yes.
yeah, yes.
Bye. Take
All
care.
right, good
Thanks.
night.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.
Bye. Good night.